Okay, Google, introduce our paper.
What is sensitive about sensitive data? Characterizing sensitivity and intimacy with Google Assistant users. By Alejandra Gomez Ortega, Jacky Bourgeois, and Gerd Kortuem.
Hello, my name is Alejandra and today I will present our paper. I just asked Google to introduce our paper. This interaction is data, collected and stored in the form of a speech record. Speech records have three dimensions: the timestamp, the transcript, and the audio recording. Speech records are personal data, defined in the General Data Protection Regulation as data through which a person can be directly or indirectly identified. In this case, my interactions are associated with my device, my account, and my voice, hence with myself. There are other categories of personal data, such as sensitive data, which includes racial or ethnic origin, political opinions, sexual preferences and orientation, and genetic, biometric, and health-related data, among others. And intimate data, which corresponds to data from intimate context and activities such as showering, menstruating, and urinating. In this paper, we investigate people's perceptions around sensitivity and intimacy of their speech records. This has been explored by previous research with a focus on single interactions, such as the interaction, "Okay Google, set an alarm." Previous research shows that this interaction is not considered sensitive by Google Assistant users because it is simple and mundane. Everyone says it. But is that all there is to speech records? What about all the other interactions taking place in the same day or in the same week? This could show all the different things someone uses her device for, such as the lights, alarm, weather, and others. Or how someone's interaction looked like on a given day, which could illustrate her routine. Or how these interactions look like in any given time. What if someone turns her lights off before bed? Speech records could illustrate her bedtime routine. We propose to focus not only in individual interactions, but in speech records comprehensively. We investigate how voice assistant users perceive sensitivity and intimacy when faced with a comprehensive overview of their speech records. We do this through three activities. First, we collect speech records generated in the wild through data donation. Second, we familiarize with and classify speech records in terms of sensitivity and intimacy. We use the results from this activity to develop an interview protocol. Third, we conduct data-centric interviews with 17 Google Assistant users. During the interviews, we use a personal data canvas to elicit reflections on sensitivity and intimacy. We analyze the interviews using reflexive thematic analysis. The personal data canvas is an interactive data representation of the speech records. We created one for each donor, hence they are unique and different based on people's interactions with their Google Assistant. Each canvas has two views. First, we show individual speech records, including the audio recordings, transcript, and timestamp. Second, we show an overview of speech records with categories, daily interactions, interactions during the week and weekends, and most frequent queries. Our results illustrate people's perceptions of sensitivity and intimacy and the characteristics of sensitive and intimate speech records. Sensitive speech records have three characteristics. First, they are intrusive. They are generated in a shared physical space that the device invades, capturing what happens within. Intrusiveness is related to people's awareness of the data collection. Interactions where the speaker has low awareness, such as unintended interactions, are highly sensitive. Second, sensitive speech records are specific. They capture information that is unique about a person, not generic or decontextualized. For example, that I'm a morning person is general information and is something that can be said about a lot of people. But what I do in the morning, my routine, that's specific to me and is perceived as highly sensitive. Third, sensitive speech records are unavailable. They capture information that is not widespread or easily available. For example, that I work at TU Delft is something that can be found online, but my address and the people who I live with cannot, and they are perceived as highly sensitive. Intimate speech records are collected in close physical proximity between a device and a speaker, in a shared physical space, where intimate moments and activities take place and are captured, such as a couple in bed. Now, going back to our example, the interaction "OK Google, set an alarm" is not considered sensitive according to previous literature because it is simple and mundane. Everyone says that. Yet, our findings indicate that it can be perceived as sensitive if it comes from a place of playfulness or unconsciousness. And it can be perceived as intimate when it comes from a place of vulnerability or it accounts for intimate contexts and activities such as a couple in bed. In addition, we found a tipping point in people's perceptions of sensitivity and intimacy. Most people starting the interview with saying, "My speech records are super not sensitive. They have no sensitive information," and they ended up being surprised for finding unexpected information in there. This tipping point came in different instances, such as from realizing the data was stored in the first place. This realization came from one donor during the data donation process. For others, it came from listening to the audio recordings and realizing that they were actually recorded. Finally, for the majority of donors, this realization came from exploring the behavioral patterns and inferences that can derive from speech records. Our findings have broader implications. Sensitivity has been closely related to privacy, to defining what private information is and limiting its disclosure. Yet, pervasive data collection means that it's very hard to define what private information really is. Even if we know that data is being collected, we do not know how it looks, how it feels, or what kind of sensitive information it contains. Leading to the question, how can I control the disclosure of information if I don't know it's there? We should design interventions to support people in reaching the tipping point and engaging with the sensitive and intimate aspects of their data to then make better informed decisions about it. Thank you for your time, and I invite you to read our paper. Bye!